What is happening in West Bengal? Last year when SIR was announced, there was exodus-like situations on the borders of Bangladesh and West Bengal. But this year, this time, we are seeing similar pictures yet again. But why? This time it is because of the state-wide policy that has been announced by the new Chief Minister of West Bengal, that is detect, delete and deport, which has created waves of fears across and which has put the migrants, the legal and illegal one, both in questionable places. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are going to understand that what is this new policy that we are talking about, why it is raising fears, most importantly why India is so prone to accumulating, having illegal migrants, especially when we are talking about from the neighboring countries. And we will also look into, is there any legal framework, is there any constitutional provision which talks about illegal migration into our country and how to handle that. So let us begin with understanding that what exactly has happened. So as of now, Suvendu Adhikari, the new Chief Minister of West Bengal, he has announced that there will be a wide crackdown on the illegal migrants, and this will be in a form of a major anti-infiltration drive. This whole idea has been pitched in form of a policy, that is detect, delete and deport policy, and because of this announcement, large groups of suspected illegal migrants from Bangladesh, they have gone to the borders. I am talking about North 24 Parganas and Malda, both of very important districts, and these are falling near the border checkpoints. So this is where the migrants have gathered. Now, why migrants have exactly gathered? Because the government has clearly said that what they will be doing. So government has given the name, but what government is going to do is first understand who is legal migrant, who is illegal and who is legal immigrant. Then based on that, there will be proper removal of them from records, and then the deportation process will begin. And to ensure this whole thing, what government is going to do, government is going to make holding centers and people will be kept there, the verification will happen, and then the process for deportation will also begin. Now, when we have understood what exactly has been announced, let us pick it up from scratch and start to understand that when we are talking about illegal immigration, why this is such a big issue in India. This is such a big issue in India because it happens a lot. If we look at our country, we get to see the numbers of illegal immigrants, and the numbers go as high as 25 million. Obviously, there is no documented or surveyed government report on this, but these huge numbers are concentrated in India because of few particular reasons. What are those reasons? First reason is porous border. When we are looking at India's border, especially with Bangladesh, because when we are talking about illegal immigrants, a high concentration comes from Bangladesh. So the porous border with Bangladesh is a huge problem here, because India and Bangladesh have a huge border. Can you tell me how long is this border? Okay, let me tell you this. It is 4,097 kilometers approximately. The reason I am telling you this because I am going to ask you a different question here. How many Indian states share the border with Bangladesh, are touching Bangladesh across their borders? Let me know in the comment section. Now, the border that we share with Bangladesh, it is riverine and it is a difficult terrain. So that means the border proper making has been not done. Because of that, the movement is possible. That is why we are seeing porous borders. Second factor is the economic angle here. You have to look that whenever we are talking about migration, I am not talking about from Bangladesh to India, any place at all, rural to urban as well, it happens because of certain push and pull factors. In this situation, a huge push factor is limited economic opportunities, and a pull factors is the employment opportunities that India can offer, the better wages and welfare that India can offer. Now, once we are looked into two of the most obvious factors around us, let us look into some underlying factors but which have a huge role to play, such as political factors. Because when we are talking about other neighborhood countries, especially Myanmar, we get to see the minority communities even Bangladesh, they flee from their country for protection to neighboring countries. Just like Rohingya community in Myanmar, then when we are talking about Bangladesh, Hindu minority is present there. So such issues are also a big factor in this immigration. Then when we talk about this being a major issue, you also have to understand that this raises huge security concerns, such as the factor that the smuggling networks are facilitated by this immigration. Fake identity documents are forged, they are used and they circulate, they work in the whole government setup, and the terror infiltration fears are also present here. You also have to understand that this is how terror financing works. This is how narrative building works. This is how demographic changes are created. And these are new ways of threatening the national security. And when we look at the issue of illegal immigration, it is highly concentrated in certain states, especially which share boundary with Bangladesh, Assam, West Bengal and Tripura. Delhi also happens to be a very important place where we see high concentration of immigrants, illegal immigrants, because of the factor we just discussed, this one. Now, I hope we are clear that what exactly facilitates this illegal immigration. Now, let us move to talk about that what exactly it is being done. So, as soon as the West Bengal government changed, they came towards taking administrative measure and addressing infiltration, which would be done through holding centers where there will be proper detention and the document verification, the biometric collection and the nationality confirmation will be done there. Then such data would be uploaded and then suspected entrants will be detained up to 30 days. Now, when we are looking at that, the only holding center that has been set up is in Malda as of now. It is the first operational detention facility. It is already housing certain suspected Bangladeshi illegal immigrants and a proper surveillance system has been installed. But when we are looking at this policy that has been talked about, does it have a legal backing? It says that it does. It is coming from Immigration and Foreigners Act of 2025. But when we look at the whole illegal immigration factor, that how these illegal immigrants need to be dealt, for India we don't have a direct and comprehensive law. So let us look into whatever we have in the name of legal framework. So when we are talking about legal framework, first we have Foreigners Act of 1946. What government is allowed to do? Government can detect, government can detain foreigners and they can also deport illegal foreigners. So when we are talking about this act, this does have the provision that how illegal foreigners can be dealt. Then we also have Citizenship Act of 1955, which lays the ground for defining the citizenship rules and how illegal migrant needs to be understood. What are the parameters that need to be understood? Now we have two legislations, but no, we have more. That is why I am saying it is fragmented. Passport Act of 1920, not even revised after independence. This is what is used to regulate the entry if someone is coming without any valid document. And then when we are looking at constitutional protection, we only have Article 14, which gives foreigners also equality before law, and Article 21, right to life and liberty. So India is basically what looking at that, okay, we need to maintain security, the legal frameworks will point you towards that, and the humanitarian safeguards are placed through constitutional provisions. But the legal framework that I am talking about is not talking about the amendments that have been made, where we need to talk about CAA, Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, which talked about that there will be fast-track citizenship given to Sikhs, Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis and Christians, specifically not Muslims, who are coming from Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan. We also have announcement of National Register of Citizens. The whole objective to identify Indian citizens who are genuine, detect illegal immigrants and ensure that they are deported or detained. Now the problem with all of this, that documentation needs to be present to understand that who is illegal and who is legal. another big issue. When we are talking about human rights, this is a whole lot of violation that is happening here. And a third factor that we need to consider is that when we are talking about being an inclusive society, this is somewhat exclusive behavior that we are portraying. So in this whole context, there is a large debate that how India should deal with refugees. Because that sets the whole ground for understanding that what is the current scenario in India. Because India does host Tibetans, India does host Sri Lankan Tamils, India does host Afghan refugees, but when we are talking about Bangladeshi migrants, Rohingya infiltrators, we have, especially in recent times, seen very strict action. And when we are talking about CAA of 2009, it also says a similar story. So what exactly is India's stance on refugees? Irrespective of the religion, cannot be figured out, but as of now, what West Bengal is seeing is a form of reverse exodus, where the migrants, not sure illegal or not, because the documentation is something that is very difficult to find in the given limited means, but they have lined up to go back to Bangladesh. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. Now I will be addressing another factor here, that when we are talking about illegal immigration, what are the biggest challenges? Because from the perspective of your exam, this is an important dimension to discuss. Because when we are looking at illegal immigration, this is not just about humanitarian issues, that how they will be detained, how documentation will be done, what conditions they will get to live, how the children will be protected. But at the same time, illegal immigration is also the fundamental basis, especially in our country, of political polarization. Citizenship politics are used, demographic changes are used to advantages, vote bank debates and also freebies are sent across. And this is where both of this combined leads to a bigger challenge, that is diplomatic. Because we are talking about deportation because that is what we are going to do from our end. But what about the other country which is involved? Deportation happens from one country to another country. This requires the cooperation of the other country. If they are not cooperating, especially when we are looking at Bangladesh in the picture, where we are still trying to rebuild the trust, the cooperation, this might seem like a problematic thing. So what should be done? The thing that are making it a big issue need to be addressed. Starting with something as basic as addressing the porous border. Porous border needs to come up with better strengthened border management. There needs to be fencing, smart fencing, better surveillance through technology, and then when we are talking about verification, this needs to be done in a better format, in a better systematic manner, digitalize, faster checks so the detention is not for longer times, and this is where we also need to ensure that we come up with a balanced policy. We do not go with something which creates a fear of exclusion, because this time it might be some other community, the next time can be probably yours. So balanced policy which is not fueling the fear which is required. I'm not asking there should be compromise on national security, but at the same time there needs to be proper understanding, clarification, awareness that needs to come, so that the balance between national security with human values, constitutional rights and also diplomacy is maintained. Now that was all from my side on this particular topic. I would like to conclude by saying that when we are talking about illegal immigration, it is not just a critical issue, it is a very sensitive issue in our country, and it involves multiple dimensions across. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.